I was considering starting this video off by just screaming, but I think that's a bit much for me personally. I don't think I have that vibe on YouTube. You can let me know if you think otherwise. But anyway, the Pugilist class by Benjamin Huffman, I believe is his name, is out on D&D Beyond. They dropped it yesterday when I'm recording this, despite the fact that I didn't think it would be coming until next week because we had Exploring Eberron last week. This isn't a bad thing. I just wasn't expecting it, but it does mean I get to look at it. And as someone who is a big fan of punching and things of the sort in controlled environments, I'm very excited about this one. So, as is often the case, I'm going to go through it. We're going to take a look at it. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and we're going to go from there. Shall we? Currently in a race against time, against the cold my son has given me. The joys of parenthood. They never cease. Anyway, this is the Pugilist class. It's a street fighter with swagger to spare. You get a D10 as your hit dice, which is very nice. Your primary ability is strength. You get strength and con saves, which are both pretty solid. Strength saves isn't the most important one, but it's obviously fitting thematically. You get 2 from acrobatics, athletics, deception, intimidation, perception, sleight of hand, or stealth. You get simple and improvised weapons. You get to gain a gaming set. You get light armor if you want it. I don't think you're going to, but we'll get into that. Nice and simple. There's a bunch to get through, so there's going to be a slightly longer one than usual. He says, I don't know how long these things are going to take. I never do. Don't even script my videos. I just read stuff. We can tell I hear you shouting, and rude. Honestly. Anyway, live a rough and tumble life that leaves them full of determination and recklessness, either from overconfidence or desperation. In a fight, they channel this strength of character to dig deep and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, even when outarmed and outnumbered. Even when they ultimately fall, lists go down swinging. Lists tap into their inner strength in the form of moxie. This is not an esoteric or mystical energy that flows throughout the universe, but the result of self-confidence and determination forged over a lifetime of hardship with a never-say-die attitude. Anyone can be taught how to fist fight, but accessing the strength and resilience of the pugilist can't. Weird wording. Maybe that's just my brain glitching, it usually is. The secret of mastering moxie doesn't come from disciplined study or rigorous training, it comes from years of wanting and needing. In back alleys, underground fight clubs, and poorer quarters, pugilists don't have time to consider the lofty ideals of philosophy or ponder the mysteries of the universe. They spend their days chasing down their next meal, or if they're fortunate enough to have that, their next drink, bedfellow, or flophouse. Becoming an adventure might be the only way out of whatever miserable situation they've been stuck in since infancy. For others, getting lost out in the world is an escape from the tangled web of debt or enemies they've piled up. But some pugilists are just happy with the promise of ample opportunities to bloody their knuckles. This is a working man's monk. I really like having working class representation in the classes. I know I sound incredibly posh, but I'm actually from a working class background, and I don't know, it brings me joy, you know? We get lots of stuff. There's 2 things to note here. I mean, there's lots of things to note, but specifically for this moment, there are 2 things to note. The first is your fisticuffs dice, which you get level 1. This dictates your unarmed damage. It starts at a 1d8, which actually means you're hitting harder than the monk does, and it ends in a 2d6. And while the difference between 1d12 and 2d6 is relatively negligible, 1d12 average damage is 6.5, 2d6 average damage is 7, slightly higher average damage. It's less spiky, it's more consistent, right? And you can always hit slightly harder even if you roll poorly. So I don't dislike it. Also, it's fun to roll more dice. Who doesn't love rolling more dice? Yeah, so at level 1, this class has so much stuff. I feel like you need to start this one at level 1 to really get to grips with this, even though it is monk adjacent, as you will see. This gives you mastery over combat styles that use unarmed strike and pugilist weapons. Your pugilist weapons are simple melee weapons, improvised weapons. I love an improvised weapon from an RP and a thematic standpoint. I'm a big fan of it. You can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, just straight up, which is great. And you can roll 1d8 in place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike or pugilist weapons. This means that you are better at using table legs than pretty much anyone else in the game. And it just hits just right, you know? I just adore it. You also get improved improvisation. Your talent for turning everything into a weapon allows you to use the mastery properties of improvised weapons. All improvised weapons count as having the sap mastery property for you. So basically, if you hit someone with a table leg, it has the sap mastery, which is cool. You also get iron chin while you're wearing light armor or no armor and not wielding a shield. Your base armor class is 12 plus your con mod. It being con mod only is really interesting. You're not incentivized to up your dex. You're literally going for the heavy hitter, which means, rather interestingly, that you can technically take something like charisma as your tertiary stat, which I like a lot. Having a class like this is good for stuff. It's like how monks use wisdom, right? You could theoretically also take intelligence if you wanted to, or you could go dex if you wanted to, but with a character like this, I think generally I would build it with charisma because intimidation seems like a good fit, or persuasion. Level 2, you get moxie. Your experience of beating the odds has given you a moxie you can channel in the midst of battle. This swagger is represented by a number of moxie points. Your pugilist level determines the maximum number of points you have, as shown in the moxie points column in the pugilist features table. You don't get one per level, they go up every other level, so if we go back up. So 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Oh, they go up exactly every other level, apart from at the end, where they go up every level. So you end with 12. You can use these points to enhance or fuel certain pugilist features, and you start with knowing 3 of those features, which are brace up, 1, 2, punch, and stick and move. When you expend a moxie point, it's unavailable until you finish a short or long rest, at which point you regain all of them. Very focused point adjacent. Brace up is you can use a bonus action and expend 1 moxie point to brace for attacks. When you do so, you roll your fisticuffs die and gain a number of temp health equal to the number rolled, plus your pugilist level and your con mod. That's a lot of temp health. That lasts for 10 minutes. So your moxie, your fisticuffs die is 1d6 to begin with? 1d8 to begin with, right? So at level 2, you're getting an average of 4.5 from your d8. I know 4.5 doesn't exist. Let's just say it's 5 for rounding purposes. Generally you round up unless you're doing accounting, in which case you round down, because accountants like to err on the side of prudence. We've gone into a whole sidebar here of mathematics, and I'm sure most people are just not that interested. Anyway, let's just assume it's 5. Then your con mod is likely to be 16, because you're probably prioritizing strength first. So that's 8. And then you also get your pugilist level, which is 10. So at level 2, you can gain 10 temp health twice, because you've got 2 moxie points, which is very cool. You can also expend 1 moxie point to make 2 unarmed strikes, a la Flurry of Blows, or as a bonus action, sorry. And stick and move, you can use a bonus action to expend 1 point to make an unarmed strike and take the dash or disengage action. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. That's where you I think that's the one where you get the difference between the monk and the pugilist most. I am going to be comparing them throughout. They're both unarmed classes. It's only natural. And I like the monk because it punches things. And I like the pugilist because it also punches things. I'm a simple man. But whereas the monk is all about defense above offense, generally speaking, with its bonus actions. Obviously, you can do flurry of blows too. But if you're doing dashing or disengaging, you're moving, you're dodging, you're getting away from people. With this one, you can punch someone and then disengage, which is really cool. Also at level 2, you get bloodied but unbowed. When you take damage, you can take a reaction to regain all your moxie points. If you're bloodied when you take this reaction, you also gain temp health equal to 4 times your pugilist level, which will be 8 at this level, which isn't bad at all. And they vanish if they any remain when you finish a short rest. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until a short or long rest. Getting that once per short rest is incredibly cool, and it effectively doubles your moxie points per short rest, which is fantastic. And then you also at level 2, you get Swagger Streak. When you fail a strength, dex, con, or charisma check, you can expend a moxie point to attempt to swagger your way to success. Roll your fisticuffs die and add the number to the ability check, potentially turning it into a success. If the ability check still fails, you regain the moxie point, and you can't use this feature again until you use a short or long rest. That makes it sound like you only can't use it again until you finish a short rest if you fail, and I don't think that's the intent, but I could be wrong. It is called Swagger Streak, so I guess that fits. If you keep succeeding, then you can keep succeeding. You only have 2 moxie points at this point anyway, so you don't have to use your reaction to do that, which I like. Level 3, we're finally at level 3. When you hit a creature with the unarmed strike, you can use both the damage and your choice of grapple or shove. This is cool. This is part of the grappler feat, which makes the grappler feat a little bit worse on pugilists because you're doubling up on one of the abilities. The only part it doesn't give you is the ability to move someone without using half movement, which means you might still want to take the grappler feat, but it's less optimal to do so because you've already got half of it. So it's good in that it gives you one of the coolest aspects of the grappler feat, but if you're looking to drag people around, you're still going to want to take the grappler feat anyway. Still, it's a cool feature. I'm in no way deriding it. I'm just saying it complicates one of the typical choices for an unarmed fighter. You also get your subclass, which we'll go through. At level 4, you get your ASI, and you also get Dig Deep. You can use the bonus action to dig deep. For 10 minutes, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and you ignore the effects of exhaustion levels less than 6. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you gain 1 exhaustion level, no action required by you to restore your use of it. So you can gain an exhaustion level to get this back, to spend it to ignore exhaustion. I just think that is beautiful design. This is a class that's meant to just constantly push himself to the edge. This is the Captain America class, really, right? The I can do this all day thing. It's fantastic. Level 5, you get extra attack. Nice and simple. You also get Haymaker. When you make an attack with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, you can expend 1 moxie point to swing with wild abandon on a hit, regaining the expended Moxie point, and you deal maximum damage with the attack. If you can guarantee that that attack is a crit, that is going to be a lot of damage. So that's fun. Level 6 is Moxie Fueled Fists. Whenever you deal damage with your unarmed strike or an attack with an improvised weapon, it can deal your choice of force damage or its normal damage type. Level 7 is Down But Not Out. When you use your Bloodied But Unbowed feature, the word is missing, but it should be there, while you are bloodied, you can add a bonus to the damage of your unarmed strikes and attacks with pugilist weapons for the next minute. The bonus equals your con modifier plus the number of levels of exhaustion. You can only do this once per long rest. Again, this leans into not only being a healthy boy, but also being a real tired boy. Very relatable. There's also an argument that a lot of people hold back in fights unless they're tired, and then it makes it harder to hold back because you don't have the same level of control over your body. You see it in sparring sometimes. Someone who is tired is generally a lot bigger threat than someone who isn't, because they might not gauge the distances correctly and they, don't pull their punches as much as they should. Obviously, it's less of an issue in a real fight, but that's it depends really, right? Complicated. Human psychology is fun. Level 9 is School of Hard Knocks. Once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d12 damage when you hit with an unarmed strike or attack with a pugilist weapon. The damage is the same type dealt by the weapon or unarmed strike. You can forego this extra damage to apply one of the following effects. In danger, the next time the creature is hit by an attack, the attack deals the maximum result of the attack's damage dice rather than rolling. That's fantastic, whether it's going to be you or someone else. If someone's rolling an 8th level chromatic orb or something and you can just smash it, but then technically you wouldn't be rolling doubles, so the chromatic orb wouldn't bounce. I just like the spell. You can also do Provoke. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you until the end of its next turn. Very cool. Very Brutal Strikes coded. Herculean at level 10 grants you the ability to double your strength score when you're determining your carrying capacity. You get Pillar Breaker when you hit an object with an unarmed strike. The hit is a critical hit. And you get double jump distance. This is a nice ribbon feature, but it's also not the only feature you get at level 10. You also get Shake It Off. At the start of each of your turns, you can remove one level of exhaustion for yourself or end one of the following conditions: blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, restrained, or stunned. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or until you take a level of exhaustion to restore your use of it. So technically, you can remove a level of exhaustion, gain a level of exhaustion, and then remove the level of exhaustion at the beginning of your turn, which is really silly. And I don't think you should do that, but it is kind of funny. Level 13 is the next feature. You get to Dig Deeper. You can use a bonus action to dig deeper. For 1 minute, you have all the benefits of your Dig Deep and can use your School of Hard Knocks twice per turn instead of once. That's your big hit, your level 9 ones, your extra D12, or the bonus effects. You also, once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Starting at level 20, you can use it twice before a long rest. I guess it's starting at level 20. Level 14 is Unbreakable. You have advantage on strength, dex, and con saving throws. Very cool. Especially if you've dumped dex, advantage on that can really help. Additionally, whenever you make a saving throw, you can expend 1 moxie point to re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. Level 15, you get Pugilist, which is nothing to do with dogs. When you roll initiative, you can remove 1 level of exhaustion on yourself and regain your uses of Down But Not Out, Dig Deep, and Shake It Off. You can only do this once per long rest. Very cool. Fighting Spirit at level 18. When you are reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead. When you do, you gain temp health equal to half of your maximum hit points, regain all of your moxie points, and have resistance to all damage except force for the next minute. You can only do this once per long rest too. Level 19 is Combat Boon. It says Combat Prowess Boon. Sorry, Epic Boon. Same thing. And level 20, our capstone feature, is pretty cool. You get your strength and con boosted up by 2 to a maximum of 23. My assumption is that you're accounting for epic boons on that front. And you also get Sleep It Off. When you finish a long rest and have the exhaustion condition, you lose all levels of exhaustion. Very cool. And when you finished a short rest, you regain hit points equal to twice your pugilist level. Regaining 40 hit points per short rest is just cool. No hit point dice required. That's the main class. I think there's a lot going on with this class. It feels a lot more stacked mechanically than a lot of the other classes in D&D. I don't necessarily think it's overpowered. I just think it's complex. It certainly fits the fantasy that comes with this, right? We are now moving on to subclasses, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 subclasses for this one. You get Dog and Hound. Pugilists know what it's like to be an underdog, so it's no surprise some form a battle-forged bond with a canine companion. They're used to being disappointed by friends that walk on 2 legs, but a friend on 4 is as loyal as they come. When a fight breaks out, the duo's bite is even worse than its bark. So, level 3, you get Brawler's Best Friend. You summon and form a bond with a wild or stray dog, which draws strength from your bottomless well of resilience using the Hound stat block. The Hound is friendly to you and your allies and obeys your command. It flees if you die. In combat, the Hound acts during your turn. It can move using its reaction on its own, but otherwise you have to give a bonus action to stop it doing dodge. You can also sacrifice one of your attacks when you take the attack action to command the dog to bite. If you have the incapacitate condition, the Hound acts on its own and isn't limited to the standard stuff. If the Hound died within the last hour, you can take a magic action to touch it and expend 2 Moxie points. The Hound returns to life after 1 minute with all of its hit points returned, and you can also summon a new dog to bond with after a long rest. If you already have a dog, the old one vanishes. Don't replace the old dog with a new dog, you monster. The Hound is an interesting stat block for a few reasons. First of all, it's a medium beast, which means technically if you are small, you can ride it. That's funny. Halfling on the back of a big old doggo? I'm here for it. Man, that sounds incredible. And then you could take mounted combatant, and then you could be punching. It's just a whole thing. Maybe I'll build it. Along with that, it has an AC of 12 plus your con modifier. So once again, you're incentivized to boost your con up. The HP is 5 plus your pugilist level. It's D8 hit die, which is not bad. Sorry, 5 plus 5 times your pugilist level. It has dark vision, which is always good. Even if you don't have it, you can rely on the doggo to see things. It has pack bond, so you can add your proficiency bonus to any ability check or saving throw the beast makes, which is always nice. And its action is just bite, which is it has a bonus to hit equal to your con mod plus your PB, which is going to likely be like 6 at this point, unless you've main statted con, I guess, in which case it could be higher if you've rolled stats or something. And it deals 2d4 plus 2 plus your con mod as piercing damage. Plus, if the creature is large or smaller, it must succeed in a strength saving throw, which is 8 plus your con plus your PB, or it either is grappled, is prone, or it's pushed 5 feet away. So, again, very con heavy. This is the con heavy one, which I like constitution subclasses and classes. I think there should be more of them. Also at level 3, you gain Mutt with Moxie. You share everything with your faithful Hound, food, shelter, and even Moxie. When you use abilities granted by your Moxie feature, your Hound gains a benefit as well. If you use Brace Up, the Hound also gets the same amount of temp health. If you use 1-2 punch, your Hound can make one or both attacks instead of you. And if you do stick and move, your Hound can dash, disengage, or help, which is sick. Giving the help action as part of your bonus action is really, really cool. Because it doesn't have to be you, it could be someone else. Level 6, you get coordinated attack. Whenever you make an attack against a creature and your Hound is within 5 feet of it, your Hound can take a reaction to give your attack advantage, and on a hit you deal an extra 3d4 damage. Additionally, whenever your Hound hits with an attack roll and deals damage, it can deal either force or its normal damage type. Very cool. You also get Hound's Best Friend. When a creature deals damage to your Hound with an attack, you can take a reaction to move up to half your speed and make one melee attack with a pugilist weapon or unarmed strike against that creature. Very, very fun. And level 17, so the capstone for this subclass, is Off the Chain. When your Hound takes damage that causes it to become bloodied, or takes the damage while it is bloodied, you can take a reaction to let it off the chain. When you do so, the Hound gains temporary health equal to 5 times your pugilist level, and for the next minute, its speed increases by 15 feet, and you can command it to use its bite action without taking a bonus action. Once you use this feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest, or you can spend 3 Moxie points. I think that's one of the coolest pet subclasses going, but I just really like dogs, so that might be why. Honestly, it's hard to say. I think it's just fun. I like the fact that the coordinated attack feature at level 6 lets you not only give advantage, which you might have anyway if you are doing the mounted combatant thing, although your mount is only a medium, so it's not going to be as common, but also gives you the extra damage, which is wonderful. So yeah, big fan of that. Hand of Dread. Look at this absolute beast of a character. In your darkest hour, you pleaded for the strength to take what you wanted from the world, and a dread power took notice. At first, you might have relished the cathartic rush that came with channeling your eldritch might to claim what you felt you deserved, but this pact came with strings attached. In times of distress, you hear the entity whispering in the back of your mind, urging you to indulge your most base impulses. I adore anything that gives the DM a little bit of extra fuel and gives a little bit of RP encouragement, and this does just that. So do most of the subclasses in this one, actually. So yeah, good stuff. Level 3, you get Black Magic. As a result of your relationship with your dread power, you gain the following benefits. You learn 2 cantrips of your choice from the Warlock spell list, and Constitution is your spellcasting mod for your Black Magic spells. Incredibly cool. And you gain level 1 spell from your Warlock spell list. You can cast this once for free, and you have the ability to cast it when you finish a long rest. You can also use spell slots, and you can change either of these spells whenever you level up. You're not getting spell slots. This is not a third caster, right? This is just, you have a couple of spells. So if you're multi-classing into it, that could work. Otherwise, it's just, you get 1 spell. That's it. So that's almost a ribbon feature, although having Eldritch Blast could be worse as a ribbon feature, right? Level 3, you also get Dread Hand when you take the attack action on your turn. You can manifest the evidence of your foul pledge to otherworldly powers. When you do so, one of your limbs transmogrifies into a monstrous appearance reminiscent of your dread power, and you gain the benefits below for 1 minute. You get use of this back on a short or long rest. So when you're hit by a melee attack, you can take a reaction to make an unarmed strike against the creature that attacked you if it's within reach, which is cool. When you hit a target with an unarmed strike, you can roll the attack's damage twice and use either roll, also cool. And the first time you miss with an unarmed strike, you can re-roll the attack and must use the new result. Also very cool. Those are all solid choices, right? Level 6, you get Deal with the Devil. You gain one of the following options of your choice. When you finish a long rest, you can change your choice. You can cast Invisibility once without a spell slot. You regain that on a short or long rest. Mask of Many Faces, you can cast Disguise Self without expending a spell slot. Weirdly, this doesn't tell you when you get it back. I'm assuming it's also on a short or long rest, because that would make sense, but it's not there. And Otherworldly Walk is Misty Step. All good stuff. Misty Step is usually going to be my preference, but Invisibility and Disguise Self both have their uses. At level 11 is Grotesque Growth. When you use your Dread Hand feature, you gain the benefit of the Enlarge effect of Enlarge Reduce, which means you deal an extra 1d4 of damage, among other things. You also get a 10-foot reach. You can do this once per long rest, unless you take a level of exhaustion to restore your use of it. So you can gain a level of exhaustion to use it again, and then you can actually remove a level of exhaustion once anyway, which is cool. Fountain of Viscera at level 17, you take a magic action. Okay, basically, you spend 6 magic. You take a magic action and spend 6 moxie points to try to put a hole in a creature with a dexterity saving throw of DC, which is strength plus proficiency bonus plus 8. If they fail, they take 100 piercing damage. If they succeed, they take 50 piercing damage. And then if a creature dies to this, it's a lot of violence. And each creature within 30 feet has to succeed in a wisdom saving throw or become frightened. You can only do this once per long rest. I like this subclass a lot. It doesn't feel as put together as the Dog and Hound one, mostly because it almost feels like it should commit slightly harder. I think I'd like it more if it was a third tier caster. Third caster? Half caster? Third caster? Makes sense, right? Yeah, whatever. I think I'd like it more if it was that. I can see why it's not. I understand why. It's just my preference. Next is Piss and Vinegar. Some pugilists revel in their reputations as heels, happily playing up their bad behavior for notoriety. Despised by their enemies for their obscene curses and dirty tricks, these pugilists take pride in their ability to provoke and willingness to win fights at any cost. Level 3, you get Bad Attitude. You gain proficiency in the Intimidation skill if you don't already have it, which means that you shouldn't take Intimidation for this prior to this. I don't like it when it's not worded with if you already have it, you can get a different proficiency, but I understand. Additionally, you gain a bonus to checks using this skill equal to your strength modifier. So you can add your strength and your charisma to your checks, which is cool. You take that with Hulking Figure as well. You can add your strength again, I guess. And that would be a lot of intimidating. Probably the most intimidating character in the game, especially if you take skill expert at some point to gain expertise in the intimidation thing. Level 3, you also get Salty Salute. You've mastered the art of the enraging insult. As a bonus action, you can provoke a creature within 60 feet of you that can see or hear you. Either or. The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or take psychic damage equal to a roll of your fisticuffs die plus your con mod and have disadvantage on any attack rolls it makes against creatures other than you until the start of your next turn. The saving throw for this and all other creatures from the subclass are 8 plus your con plus your PV. It's cool. Especially because it's just a free bonus action to taunt someone, right? I like having taunts in D&D. It's a fun thing to do. It's useful. So I like that a lot. Level 6, you get Dirty Tricks. You have a few tricks up your sleeve to even the odds when the going gets tough. You can use one of the following dirty tricks. When you can use one per turn, and once you use a specific dirty trick, you can't do it again until you finish a short or long rest. So you get 3 of these. You get Heel Stomper. When you do damage to a creature with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, the creature must succeed in a dex saving throw or its speed is reduced to 0 for a minute. It can repeat the save on the end of its turns. You also get Low Blow. When you deal damage to a creature with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, you can hit the creature below the belt. When you do, the creature must succeed in a strength saving throw or attacks against the creature have advantage until the end of your next turn. And Pocket Sand, just a funny reference every time. As a bonus action, you toss Detritus into the eyes of a creature within 10 feet. The creature must succeed in a con saving throw or have the blinding condition until the end of its next turn. Good stuff. All cool. Level 11 is Mean Old Cuss. You can offend any creature in the room with a flick of a wrist and a few curt words. As a bonus action, you can choose a number of targets within 30 feet of yourself that can see or hear you up to your level in this class. Each chosen creature must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or take psychic damage equal to a roll of your fisticuffs die plus your constitution modifier and have disadvantage on attack rolls it makes against creatures other than you until the start of your next turn. You can do this once per short or long rest or restore a use of it by expending 3 moxie points. This is an upgraded version of your Salty Salute, basically, which is not a bad thing. And then level 17 is Dirtier Tricks. You gain 2 new dirty tricks, same rules as before. You get Rabbit Punch. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, you can strike its head. Until the end of your next turn, the creature loses resistance to psychic damage if it has it, and has disadvantage on saving throws. It makes it easier for you to use some of your other features, which is fun. And Sucker Punch. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, you can turn the hit into a critical hit. For this critical hit, you roll the attack's damage dice 3 times and add them together instead of twice. So this is one of those guaranteed critical hit things I was talking about earlier with the base classes thing. So you can spend 1 moxie point to ensure you deal max damage, use the Sucker Punch feature to, when you hit, it's a crit, and you're dealing 3 times your normal damage with that strike, which is massive. Also, this art is great. Really like the leg. Street Saints rise above the adversity they face. Those known as Street Saints to do so with the aid of their deep and abiding faith in the gods. These pugilists were tested and came out on the other side with their righteous resolve to live in service to the gods strengthened, a resolve the gods have taken note of. This is the Father Judd from the latest Knives Out film. Basically. Cool. Level 3, you get Channel Divinity. You can channel divine energy directly from the outer planes, using it to fuel magical effects. You start with 2 such effects, Fists of Faith and Grace of the Gods. Each time you use this subclass's Channel Divinity, you choose which effect to recreate. You can only do this once per short or long rest, basically. Fists of Faith. As a bonus action, you can imbue your fists with Righteous Fury. For the next minute, your unarmed strikes deal an extra 1d4 radiant damage or 2d4 if the target is a fiend or undead. And Grace of the Gods, as a bonus action, you beseech the gods for their grace. For the next minute, you have resistance to necrotic damage, and whenever you make a saving throw, you can add 1d4 to the result, which is cool. You also get Lay on Hands. Your Blessed Touch can heal wounds. You have a pool of healing power that replenishes on a long rest. It's 3 times your pugilist level. Other than that, it's exactly like the Paladin one. So, good stuff. So you can heal with it, or you can remove the poison condition from a creature if you spend 5 of it. At level 6, you get Ravaged but Resolute. Once you use your Bloodied but Unbowed feature, you can fully replenish your Lay on Hands healing pool. So you get not only your Moxie, but also your Healing Hands, your Lay on Hands, which is super cool. Level 11, Aura of Resilience. When you use your Dig Deep feature, you can radiate a protective, unseeable aura in a 10-foot emanation that originates from you for the next 10 minutes. The aura is inactive while you have the incapacitated condition. Your allies within the aura gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That is so strong. If you're frontlining with other melee characters that aren't barbarians, that is an incredible feature. And level 17, Hallowed Hands. Once on each of your turns when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or pugilist weapon, you can expend a number of points from your Lay on Hands healing pool to deal extra radiant damage to the target, up to a maximum of your pugilist level. The damage equals the number of points expended, or twice as much if the target is a fiend or undead. I really like the Street Saint having the, pseudo healing class subclass thing for traditionally DPS main class is cool, but I also like that level 6 and level 11 give you features which are buffs for your standard features. I like that as a design concept. You know what you're getting already, and it makes it a little easier to understand. Next is Squared Circle. Drop and lock your foes. This is the MMA one, basically. Those who fight in a squared circle know the fastest way to win a fight is to force a submission. I guess it could be wrestlers. Yeah. These wrestlers focus on controlling the most powerful opponents with chokeholds and arm bars, forcing the enemy to fight on the pugilist's terms. Level 3 is Groundwork. You get 3 things. Compression Lock. When you start your turn with 1 or more creatures grappled, you can deal bludgeoning damage to each creature you have grappled. No action required. The damage equals 1 roll of your fisticuffs dice plus your strength mod. That's just a thing you can do, which is sick. Inescapable. When a creature makes a saving throw or ability check against your grapple or shove DC, you can expend 1 moxie point to give that roll disadvantage. Very cool. And Stop and Drop. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike and don't use a mastery property as part of the attack, you can use both the grapple and shove option, which is also very cool. Punches don't have mastery properties, unless I guess if you're a fighter multi-class, you can technically give it some. Technically. Anyway, level 3, you also get proficiency in acrobatics or athletics, and if you already have proficiency in one of those, you can gain expertise in it. We love expertise. It's good stuff. It's going to be athletics most of the time with this class. You don't really want to be a dex list. That's not really the vibe. Level 6, you get meat shield. When you have a creature grappled, you gain half cover against attacks made by creatures you aren't grappling. When a creature you aren't grappling misses you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction and expend 1 moxie point to force that creature to make the same attack with a new attack roll against a creature you're grappling. You just hold them in front, which is super cool. Level 11, you get heavyweight. When you use the grapple or shove option of your unarmed strike, you count as being 1 size larger. Additionally, you don't have to spend extra movement to move a creature grappled by you if the creature is your size or smaller. So this shores up the level 3 feature, which gives you the half of the grappler feat by giving you the rest of the grappler feat, which is cool. Level 17 is Clean Finish. When a creature ends its turn being grappled by you, you can take a reaction to force it to make a Constitution saving throw against your grapple's escape DC, or have the incapacitated condition until the end of its next turn. If the creature is bloodied and already incapacitated by this feature, its hit points are reduced to 0. You can do this once per long rest. Now, basically, if you do this twice, you can have them reduced to 0, but the wording is a little strange because they have to be incapacitated by this feature, but they're only ever incapacitated until the end of the next turn, and it's only when they end their turn grappled by you that you can make them do. This is the MTG player in me coming through. The layering of these effects, how you place them on the stack, is relevant, I guess. You need to have them roll for this before they end the incapacitate condition, which I guess is fine. I really like this as a subclass. A grappler subclass is something I've been hoping for ages. I did put one together myself for a friend of mine. I think I made a Pugilist subclass for a fighter. For a mate. I think I called it the Pugilist. Anyway, this is better. I'm not this good at making subclass. Finally, we have the Sweet Science, which is boxing, obviously. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Who practice the Sweet Science hit hard, fast. These pugilists sometimes battle for the entertainment of the upper classes, but just as often duke it out in back alleys and bars where their next breath depends on a knockout. Level 3, you get one of my favourite features, which is Bare Knuckle Boxer. When your attack rolls with unarmed strikes can crit on a 19 or 20 on the D20. Love to see it. A friend of mine saw this and immediately was like, if I'm an elf, I can take elven accuracy. And then it's every time. He just loves it. He loves critting. I respect it. Anyway, also at level 3, you get cross counter. You can block the brunt of an attack and launch one of your own in the same fluid motion. When you take damage from a melee attack, you can take a reaction and spend 1 moxie point to reduce the damage dealt to you by that attack by 1d10 plus your strength mod and pugilist level. If you reduce the damage to 0, you can make an unarmed strike or attack with a pugilist weapon against a creature within your reach as part of the same reaction. Super cool. Combo Maker at level 6. When you deal damage with an unarmed strike against a creature, instead of also choosing the grapple or shove option with your heavy hitter, you can give yourself advantage on attack rolls you make against the target before the start of your next turn. Auto advantage is incredibly cool, as it turns out, especially when you can crit more easily. So this is the optimization subclass. Level 11, you get Combo Breaker. When you use your cross counter and reduce the triggering damage to 0, you regain 1 moxie point, which means that it effectively doesn't cost you a moxie point, which is great. Level 17, you get Knockout. You get Cold Cock. When you score a critical hit against a creature, it must make a con saving throw, DC 8 plus your strength plus your PB. On a failed save, it's unconscious for a minute or until it takes any damage. Love that. And you also get Uppercut. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can take a reaction and expend 1 moxie point to make the attack a critical hit. Once you take this reaction, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Being able to auto crit is good because you can also auto max damage. So for 2 moxie points, you can deal just so much damage, which is wonderful. I might do a build for this subclass as well. That's all of the subclasses. I'm going to go through 2 items. Oh, I did 2 twice. It's 4. That's how maths works. There are a bunch of new magic items and some cool new creatures as well, but there's 2 magic items I want to draw attention to, and it's not really for this class. Sort of is. Anyway, my thoughts on them. We'll do thoughts at the end. Let's just go to the items. So there's a few new weapons, which is super cool, but the things I want to draw attention to are the 2 collars. You get the studded collar, which comes in 3 varieties, and the spiked collar, which does the same. The spiked collar gives any beast wearing this magic item a bonus to its attack rolls and damage rolls, and the studded one, any beast wearing this gains a bonus to its AC and saving throws. The reason I want to draw attention to these isn't just because your dog deserves all the best things in life, because it does. Absolutely. I don't think it can wear 2 collars, but I'd be tempted to let someone do this at high levels. The reason I want to highlight this is because moon druids and any of the druids which rely on their beastly transformations don't get a huge number of items which can actually let those builds be stronger in terms of just the beast forms, right? Yes, you get little buffs here and there, but your hit chance falls off pretty dramatically as you get into the tiers 2 through 2+, really. An item like this massively offsets that, and it's one of only 2 items that can do that, the other one being Insignia of Claws, I think it is, which only gives a +1, so you could stack that and the spiked collar, or you could have the studded collar if you want to be tanky, and I just think it's cool to have those in. Anyway, I, as you can probably tell, really like the Pugilist. I think there's so many ways to flavour it. With a monk, you're only ever really hitting things, or you're doing these fantastical attacks like the Astral Self or the Way of the Elements, right? The Pugilist is a lot more grounded, and it means that you could implement something like Wing Chun if you wanted to, or traditional boxing, or you could go for a Thai boxing thing, or there's so many things you could do with it, and I just really like that, because if you do martial arts in the real world, this is probably the easiest way for you to build a version of yourself that can fight dragons, right? Which appeals to me as someone that's been doing martial arts the vast majority of my life. Not only that, mechanically, it's so deep and saturated, and it's so wonderfully varied and complicated, and the subclass options are really, really cool as well. I really, really like this. I think this is one of the coolest things we've seen on D&D Beyond in a while. I think I said that with exploring Eberron. I think you could make arguments for this being too powerful, but I also think that's it's not something I worry about. Especially if a player is more powerful than the other players, I'll just buff the other players. That's something as a DM you have full control over. But yes, I think if you've been excited for this and you're wondering whether or not it's worth picking up, I think it's worth picking up. So go do that. It's a fantastically designed class and subclass. I love the items as well. I just hope we get more from Benjamin Huffman, and what are they called? Sterling Vermin is the company. I just think this is fantastic, so I really hope we get more of it. But that's it for me. I hope you're doing well and you're having a good time. I hope you continue to do so. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot, especially as I've been doing third-party stuff for a while. It's really cool seeing other YouTube creators getting into the third-party thing. Their subscriber figures are much larger than mine, so please remember that I've been doing this for a while and keep coming back. It means a huge amount to me. But that's that. If you enjoyed this, then good. I've already said the like and subscribe thing. I won't repeat myself. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.